Tatsadu varyadisha vardmashamna. Tatsadu varyadisha vardmashamna. Samradito bhagavan yena pumsam. Samradito bhagavan yena pumsam. Hridistito yachati bhakti pute. Hridistito yachati bhakti pute. Jnanam satatvadhigamam puranam. Jnanam satatvadhigamam puranam. Tatsadu varyadisha vartman shamna. Samradito bhagavan yena pumsam. Hridistito yachati bhakti pute. Jnanam satatvadhigamam puranam. Translation. Therefore, great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, so that He who is situated in the heart of everyone can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth in terms of the ancient Vedic principles delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki. As already explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the absolute truth is realized in 3 different phases, although they are one and the same in terms of the knower's capacity to understand. The most capable transcendentalist is the pure devotee of the Lord who is without any tinge of fruitive actions or philosophical speculation. By devotional service only does one's heart become completely purified from all material coverings like karma, jnana, and yoga. Only in such a purified stage does the Lord, who is seated in everyone's heart with the individual soul, give instruction to so that the devotee can reach the ultimate destination of going back home, back to Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam. Only when the Lord is satisfied with the devotional service of the devotee does He impart knowledge, as He did for Arjuna and Uddhava. The jnanis, yogis, and karmis cannot expect this direct cooperation of the Lord. They are not able to satisfy the Lord by transcendental loving service, nor do they believe in such service to the Lord. The bhakti process is performed under the regulative principles of Vaidhi bhakti or devotional service following the prescribed rules and regulations, is defined by the revealed scriptures and confirmed by great acharyas. This practice can help the neophyte devotee to rise to the stage of raga bhakti, in which the Lord responds from within as the Chaitya Guru or the spiritual master as superconsciousness. All transcendentalists other than devotees make no distinction between the individual soul and the super soul because they miscalculate the superconsciousness and the individual consciousness to be one and the same. This miscalculation by the non-devotees makes them unfit to receive the direction from within, and therefore they are bereft of the direct cooperation of the Lord. After many, many births, when such a non-dualist come to sense that the Lord is worshipable and that the devotee is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, then only can he surrender unto the Lord, Vasudeva. Pure devotional service begins from this point. The process of understanding the absolute truth adopted by the misguided non-dualist is very difficult, whereas the devotee's way of understanding the absolute truth comes directly from the Lord, who is pleased by devotional service. On behalf of many neophyte devotees, Vidura, at the very first instance, inquired from Maitreya about the path of devotional service by which the Lord, who is seated within the heart, can be pleased. Tat sadhu varyadisha vartma shamnah samradito bhagavan yena pumsam hridistito yachati bhakti pute gyanam sa tatvadigamam puranam. Therefore, great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, so that He who is situated in the heart of everyone can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth in terms of the ancient Vedic principles, delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ajanulambita Pujokana Kavadata Sankirtanaya Kapitaro Kamalaya Taksha. Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Pavo, Vande Jagat Priya Karo Karuna Vatara. Yandah Pravishi Mamavachi Mimam Prasuptum, Sanjivayata Kila Shakti Daraksvadamna. Anyamscha hasta charana shravana tvagadim pranannamo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. So I'll speak in English, right? Okay. Vidura is asking questions from Maitreya. He met Maitreya on the bank of river Ganga at Haridwar after he parted with Uddhava. He actually heard from Uddhava that the Lord Krishna, while leaving this world, was remembering about Vidura. And naturally, it really touched his heart. Vidura must be very fortunate because the Lord, while parting from this world, is remembering him. And specifically, the idea of the Lord is that Vidura also gets the same instruction which Uddhava have received from the Lord, but through Maitreya Muni. And therefore, Uddhava didn't want to instruct Vidura in the transcendental knowledge he received from the Lord, because he said it's not proper. Nearby, somebody who is much more senior is situated, let him instruct you. It's a proper etiquette. In front of somebody who is senior, you're not supposed to give instructions. Sometimes, of course, if you are ordered, you will have to give instructions, like sometimes Prabhupada would sit in a class and he would order his disciple to give a lecture. Naturally, the disciple would feel totally awkward and even stupid. Who am I to give the instruction? So in a similar way, Uddhava didn't want to give instruction to Vidura, and he said, you go to Maitreya, he's much more elderly and senior by age and by knowledge, and you please ask the questions of him. And very interestingly that Vidura, starting asking his questions, he's not asking, please tell me what Lord Krishna told, what you have heard when Lord Krishna was leaving from this world. He's asking a very general question. And the answer why he is asking the general question is that he feels totally unworthy himself. He feels, who am I to ask what is the secret knowledge which the Lord imparted to you? He just says that, or he feels, I'm not really worthy. If he wants, he will tell me this secret. But it's not that I will just demand, just give me this secret. Which is again the proper etiquette or the proper attitude. We all should be eager to receive knowledge. But to be able to receive knowledge, we have to have a proper attitude, otherwise the knowledge will not flow into our heart. It's a very specific way how one can get the knowledge, because knowledge is something which is very precious. It's not information. Unfortunately, for the people in the age of Kali, they somehow or other, they mix these two things, knowledge and information. Information is some sort of knowledge, but knowledge is much deeper. Knowledge implies certain realization of this knowledge within the heart. Knowledge, according to the Vedic scriptures, is a revelation. And when we're hearing the knowledge, some process of revealing this knowledge within the heart should take place. It's not just information, not just data. Unfortunately, people nowadays think that, the only guru is the Google guru. Google guru is the Maha Guru. You don't need to have any other guru because all the information you can download. But the very process of downloading is also, it's interesting. Download means it should come from above. So real knowledge comes from above. And real knowledge implies certain experience which you get while you're entering into this relationship of guru and disciple. And for that, the feeling of unworthiness is very important. Actually, you only become the fit candidate to receive knowledge when you become desperate. Lord Krishna shows it in the opening scene of Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is in the same stage of dejection, and he's feeling that he's completely unworthy. And in this stage, when you really surrender, then only you become the candidate to receive the knowledge. If you're just sitting there, just, in a cozy chair and scratching the head and think, okay, let me tell something new, what I haven't heard before, you're not really the candidate to receive the knowledge. Srila Prabhupada uses a very beautiful phrase in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, there is an art, the art of submissive hearing. It's a very beautiful phrase because hearings, we never heard about the art of hearing. Art of speaking, yes. Nobody gives the course. It will not be a very popular course, the art of submissive hearing. But Prabhupada said it's the state of art. It's a very sophisticated process, how to hear in a submissive mood so that the knowledge would be really downloaded into you. The knowledge would remain with you. And this knowledge actually should purify you from within. The knowledge will remain theoretical if it will not purify the heart. Again, it's not about the data. I heard a very beautiful story. Sometimes people, they listen some lecture, and you ask them 5 minutes later, especially if it's after the breakfast, what was the lecture? Very nice lecture. What was it about? I don't remember, but very nice. So, but it may not be so bad, because actually the result of the hearing is the purification of the heart. You may not remember all the minutest details what have been said, but still some purification should take place. There was a beautiful story once. A young monk in a monastery, he was helping in the kitchen, and he was washing some salad by water. And the old monk, who was like any senior devotee, was a little irritated and little, anyway, he wanted to show this young boy his place, and he wanted to show him that he's the fool, basically. So he came to him. He said, "You're doing service." He said, "Yes, I'm doing service." "So have you heard the lecture this morning, the sermon this morning?" He said, yes, I heard. It was a very nice sermon. "What was it about?" He said, "I don't remember." And this answer was expected by the elderly senior monk, and he started chastising him. He said, "What is the use? You were sitting there and you were using. What is the use if you don't remember anything?" And the young monk, he humbly folded his hands, and he said, "My dear sir, look, I'm washing this salad, and the water which I use to wash the salad doesn't remain in the salad. Still, it makes its job. It washes the dirt." So in the same way, I may not remember what I heard, but the job has been done. The heart was purified. So it doesn't matter whether I remember it or not. The main thing is the purification of the heart, because this is what is supposed to take place by the hearing. But the purification of the heart only takes place if the hearing is being done in a proper mood. If you're properly hearing the transcendental knowledge, then this transcendental knowledge will act from within and help you to get purified and to get the realization. And therefore, Vidura, in his humility, he asks, as I said, a very general question. He doesn't say, "Please impart to me the secret knowledge which you received from the Lord." He asked the general question for the benefit of everyone who would hear this from before. He asked the general question, "Sukhaya karmani karoti loko natai sukham vanyat uparamam va vindete buyas tata eva dukham yada atra yuktam bhagavan vadenna." He says that we can see and we can watch when we look around. If we are careful enough, if we are attentive enough, we can watch and see that everyone in this world, everyone, Sukhaya karmani karoti loke, everyone loke in this world, Sukhaya karmani is working very hard for the happiness. Sukhaya karmani karoti loke. In this world, everyone is doing the same thing. They are trying very hard by different means to obtain happiness. That's true. Everyone has different conception of happiness, but everyone is trying to get happiness. But what happened at the result, natai sukham va anyat uparamam va, neither do they get sukham, happiness, and that would not be so bad if they would at least get some cessation or relief from the unhappiness. But no, they natai sukham va anyatu paramam va. They don't get sukham. They don't get the cessation or relief from unhappiness. Instead, vindete buyas tate eva dukham. Instead, they become miserable. He said, what is this strange phenomena? Sometimes, people, they become really perplexed and bewildered because this world from the surface seems to be such a nice place. Especially if you go somewhere in Thailand or Bali or somewhere far away from your home. Usually the home doesn't look so nice. If you live in Bali, you probably will come for happiness to America. If you live in America, you go to Bali. The further away it is, the more chances it is that you will get happiness, according to people's understanding or imagination. And people become perplexed. From the surface, this world seems to be a very nice place for my happiness. But somehow or other, I don't get happiness. And, I look around, and there is a lot of people who pretend to be happy. This is actually what people do in the society. Nobody is happy, but everyone is pretending to be happy. They're posing to be happy. They're coming and see how happy I am. So Vidura is asking this question, and he said, this seems to be, and sometimes people, they get bewildered, but they don't understand that nobody is happy here by design. The world was originally designed by the Supreme Lord that nobody would become happy. It's a very hard truth to understand and to swallow, but it's by design, because nobody is happy. If it was not by design, that at least somebody should have become happy. But in reality, nobody is happy. Those who are pretending to be happy are there, but they're not there. And Vidura is asking this question, can you explain to me why is this strange phenomena and how to get happiness? Usually people, when they still have the hope to get happiness, it's very difficult for them to swallow this, especially when they're young. Young people, they usually think, everyone is not happy, but I will become happy. There should be at least one exception from the rule. And of course, this exception should be me, not anyone else. So Vidura is asking this general question, but he's hoping that by asking this general question, he will invoke the mercy in the heart of Maitreya so that he would reveal the secret knowledge, because ultimately it's only by the secret knowledge about the Lord one can get the answer to this question. This beautiful question, why nobody is happy, why, and despite everyone is trying hard. Okay, let's not look to anyone else. Please answer very honestly to this question. Did you try hard to become happy? Yes. Did you become happy? No. Congratulations. You are fit to hear the answer. And in Upanishad, in Shvetashvatara Upanishad, there is a beautiful verse. It's towards the end of Shvetashvatara Upanishad, where the sage Shvetashvatara said that if you want to be happy in this world, you can be happy in this world, and there are two ways to be happy in this world. One way to be happy in this world is without the knowledge of God. And you can be happy without the knowledge of God. But for that, you have to fulfill one condition. Do you want to know the secret? How to become happy without the knowledge of the Lord? Shvetashvatara Muni says, if you will be able to cover the whole sky by skin, by the, how you call this? Not your skin, but the, by leather. If you will be able to cover the whole sky by leather, you will become happy without the knowledge of the Lord. You can try it. Basically, the meaning is this is a joke. You cannot cover the sky with the leather. So the only way to get happiness in this world, the way is there. But for that, you have to have the knowledge of the Lord. So, and that's exactly what Vidura says. Vidura, initially, he asked this question, why it is this strange phenomenon that nobody, everyone tries hard. Everyone really tries hard and hard and hard and hard and has some bombastic plans to become happy in the future. But nobody becomes, and not even, it would not be so bad if nobody would become happy, but nobody even cease to become miserable. And therefore, in this verse, he basically gives the question to his, gives the answer to his own question. In the second verse, he asks this question to Maitreya, but in this verse, he gives the answer. In this verse, he says, Tat sadhu varyadisha, or best of the sadhu, sadhu varya, adisha vartma shamnah, please explain to me Vartma. Vartma means the path. What is the way? What is the path? But he, from the very beginning, he says that this path should be sham. Sham means easy. Please explain to me the easy path, the happy path. Because sometimes, especially when it comes to spiritual practices, when people get frustrated from their attempts to become happy in this world, they come to some spiritual discipline, and usually the spiritual discipline means that you have to perform some severe austerities, you have to fast, 40 days in the desert, and only then you will get some spiritual realization. Vidura says, no, please don't tell me about, 40 days fasting way. Don't tell me about some, being in a cave in Himalayas, living with the spiders and the snakes in Himalayan caves and, meditating all day long. Tell me some easy path. And he says, tell me some easy path, samradito Bhagavan yena pumsam, by which Bhagavan yena, by which becomes samradita. Samradita, it's a very beautiful word in Sanskrit. Samradita means samyak sam radita, worshipped. Please tell me the easy path by which Lord can be worshipped or served, and through this path, Hridistito, the Bhagavan is already in your heart. We all know this theory that the Lord is in everyone's heart. So Vidura is saying the Lord is already there, the Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. He is the person. Please tell me this easy path by which he can be pleased or worshipped, because ultimately the worship or the service to the Lord is a very natural thing. By nature, every one of us is a servant. People, they like to serve. And of course, we have this ego concept which deprives us from this mood of service, but ultimately, I was just in New York and I was chanting mantra in a park, and there are so many people who are so devotedly serving to their dogs. They have their special, plastic bags to clean the stool of their dogs. And they're so happy by serving their dogs. And Prabhupada said that actually, no matter what, we always remain servants. We try to pretend masters. But actually, it's not even very nice thing to be a master. It's much more natural to be a servant. Service is natural. To be a master is totally artificial. Everyone who is trying to be a master, they ultimately become very frustrated by these attempts. So he says, samradita. This root, rad, means to please. And we know, if we manage to please somebody, we become very happy ourselves. If your little son is happy, you become happy, right? By your service. If your wife is happy, you definitely become happy. If wife is unhappy, you definitely become unhappy. If your husband is happy, you're happy. By pleasing others, you become happy. But what to speak if the Lord is pleased? The Lord is closest to you. The Lord is there in your heart. And therefore, he says, Samradito Bhagavan Yena Pumsam Hridistito Yachati Bhakti Pute. He said that by this process of pleasing the Lord, what will happen? The heart will become pure. If we manage to please the Lord, who is situated within our heart, that the heart become pure, and then the knowledge of the Lord will come as an outcome of this process of pleasing the Lord. Gyanam sa tatvadigamam puranam. This Puranam, very old, or as Prabhupada explains, the very ancient, the original knowledge of the spiritual nature, spiritual truth, tattva, will come to your heart, and by this knowledge you will become happy. Actually, that's the very fundamental principle of Vedic culture. The fundamental principle of Vedic culture is that the source of all our unhappiness is ignorance. Why we are not happy? Because of only one problem, because we're ignorant. And because we're ignorant, we're trying to become happy in the wrong way. We commit the mistake in the first place, and no matter what we do after that, will not bring us to the desired result. And therefore, he says, in the first verse, he's asking, in the first question, he's asking how to become happy. In this verse, he's answering how to become happy. To become happy, you have to get knowledge. How you can get knowledge? You can only get knowledge from the Lord. How you can get the knowledge of the Lord? When your heart is purified. And then you feel the Lord is there. And then naturally, you get the knowledge about this tattva. And when you get the knowledge, you become happy. Only those people who get this spiritual knowledge about tattva, and Prabhupada explains that everyone who are on the path of spiritual salvation, they're trying to get the knowledge of tattva. And from the very beginning, it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmiti bhagavaniti shabdyate. Actually, it's also very beautifully explained that this knowledge of tattva, the tattva is advaya gyan. Tattva, or the truth, is advaya gyan. Tattva means the reality And unless you get the knowledge of reality, you will not be happy. But this knowledge of reality is non-dual. It's non-dual consciousness. And when you get the knowledge of non-dual consciousness, your consciousness will also become non-dual. And this non-dual Advaya consciousness is the happy state of consciousness. Our problem is that our consciousness is dual. Happiness and distress, heat and cold, male, female, all these dualities in between of which we are trying to get happiness are not really working. The only thing which is the way to become happy is to obtain this non-dual consciousness, which comes when you understand the non-dual reality. Non-dual reality or non-dual truth means the Lord and the Lord's abode. It's very difficult for us to understand because our consciousness is dual. I read a beautiful book about one near-death experience. This person, he's a neurosurgeon. He's actually neuroscience scientist, the scholar, the scientist of neuroscience himself. And he had a near-death experience. He was in coma for many days. And he himself says that probably I was given this experience because I never believed in this near-death stuff. He said that, I was a total atheist and I didn't believe in all this stuff because I thought it's just the dying brain is creating some sort of imagination to the dying person just to give him some solace. It's just an evolutionary mechanism in the brain when you're dying to give you some little solace and to relieve your pain, then some sort of fantasies are being produced by this dying brain. He said, it was my concept. He said, I can testify, in my condition, my brain was dead. He had a very severe case of meningitis and his brain, his neocortex was completely dead. And he said, I'm saying with the full authority, my brain was dead. Still, I had this beautiful experience. This experience is much more beautiful than I ever had anything in my life. And he said, I saw the reality, but I cannot explain to you this reality. I cannot describe this reality. Because when I describe it, I only use the language which is useful to describe this dual reality. And the reality which I experienced there was non-dual. He said it was very beautiful. There was a lot of varieties there. And God was there. This reality was there. But I cannot explain this. It was too beautiful, and I don't have the words to describe it. If you want to see it, just die and you will see it. No problem. But only if you die in a proper state of consciousness. But ultimately, this is exactly what Vidura is asking from Maitreya. He's saying that, if you please the Lord, samradita, if you achieve this stage of pleasing the Lord, then Bhagavan, who is situated in your heart, he will reveal this knowledge to you. And when this knowledge is revealed to you, then the answer to the first question is given. Then you become happy. And he says, please give us this easy path to this process. And ultimately, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that the easy path to this process is just to hear about this non-dual reality. It's amazing, but even though the words of this world, as I said, are not suitable to describe non-dual reality, because they're suitable to describe the dualities of this world. Still, the same words, of course in Sanskrit, but even if it's not in Sanskrit, it is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. If you hear these words which are seemingly material, these sounds which are seemingly material, the sentences which are seemingly the same, which we are used to hear, if we hear this again and again and again, if we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, this philosophy of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is explaining inexplicable truths about non-dual reality, which is explaining this achintya tattva, totally inconceivable truths about spiritual world, you will get the understanding. The very process, the foundational process of bhakti is this hearing, but again, as I said, hearing in a special mood, in a mood which is conducive for the revelation. Ultimately, it's not hearing, it's not the information which you get from hearing, but the revelation, the truth which is behind these words of Srimad Bhagavatam, is capable of revealing himself through these words, even though the words are material, even though the sounds are material. The truth, God himself, is capable of revealing this knowledge to you through this process of hearing. And this process of hearing is the easy way to please the Lord. It's the easiest way to please the Lord is to hear about him. And it's a natural psychology. Srila Prabhupada explains in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that everyone is happy to hear about himself. When we hear about the Lord, we may or may not be happy. But when somebody is talking about us, then the art of submissive hearing becomes revealed to us. Because we're really eager to hear about us. You know, if we hear our name, we become really attentive. You know, what are they talking about me? So basically, that's the foundational process of bhakti, is to hear about the Lord. And when we hear about the Lord becomes pleased because the Lord is there within our heart. He knows what we're hearing. He knows we're hearing about him. And he's very surprised. Because usually people are happy and pleased to hear about somebody else, about some, Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin. And when a rare soul is hearing about the Lord is really, really pleased. And that's the Shamvarta, Vartma. Shamvartma means the easy path. The easy path, you just hear about the Lord. And the Lord cleanses from within your heart. Vidunoti suhrit satam. Srinvatam savakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana. This Krishna Katha, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, is punya in itself. It's beneficial, or it gives you some punya. Punya means the piety. It gives you some piety in itself. Why? Because the Lord, Vidunoti suhrit satam, He's within your heart, and He's cleaning your heart while you're hearing. And even if you don't remember anything, no problem. Just forget everything, just hear. No problem. Not so important. And that's exactly what he says, because again, the foundational problem of us is ignorance. The solution to this problem is knowledge. But knowledge can only be revealed. The real knowledge can be revealed. The real knowledge cannot be downloaded from the internet. The real knowledge can be revealed from within the heart if the Lord is pleased from you, by you, and He is ready to give the revelation. Otherwise, you can also try to cover the whole sky by leather. No problem. You're free to do it. So basically, that's it. This is what I would say. Hare Krishna. Maybe there is a question, yeah.
Hearing. It's an easy path to learn the knowledge of hearing.
Yes.
But when my wife speaks, I don't want to hear. When my wife speaks, I don't want to hear.
Because probably your wife doesn't speak about Krishna. If she would speak about Krishna, probably you would, how beautiful he is and how he is loving, and, she probably speaks about something else, right?
She says that you hear only something and not what I'm saying.
Okay. So, your question is how to solve this problem that your wife wants you to hear when she speaks and you wants to hear about Krishna. That is the question.
I would like to hear,
But you have to hear your wife.
train your ears to hear Krishna.
Huh?
How do you train your ears to hear Krishna?
It's very simple. If you train your wife to speak about Krishna, then you will always hear about Krishna. So, please explain to your wife how important it is to speak about Krishna. And then she will speak about Krishna, and then you will naturally hear only about Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, my question is, ignorance is only one reason, or could be don't take responsibility is the reason too?
Say it again, please.
Ignorance, you said ignorance?
Ignorance, yes.
If it doesn't take responsibility, it could be one more reason.
Может быть, на русском.
Не взять ответственность. Микрофон.
Не взять ответственность за что?
За свои действия.
So the question is, why am I ignorant? Because I am not taking the responsibility for my own actions. That's the question. It's a very difficult question about the cause of avidya. In Sanskrit, in the Vedic literature, it is specifically said that this is anadi avidya. This is beginningless avidya. Avidya which doesn't have beginning, which basically means it's another way to say that it's causeless avidya. We definitely have to take responsibility for our own actions, because our avidya or ignorance can be greatly increased by our own ignorant actions. There is no doubt about it. So in one sense, yes, we are ignorant, we are responsible for our ignorance, for our avidya. But at the same time, if it was only our responsibility, then only by our own endeavors we would be able to get rid of the ignorance. And that's the path of yoga. In the path of yoga, people, they're trying to get rid of avidya, of ignorance, only by their own endeavors. By this path of 8 stages, Ashtanga Yoga, Yam Niyam, Asana, Pranayama, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. And some of them are maybe successful, but not even to the fullest extent. But according to Bhakti, actually without Bhakti or without the mercy, you cannot really get rid of the ignorance. So, according to our philosophy, it's not only by your endeavors you can get rid of ignorance, it's by the Lord's mercy. And it basically means that it's not only you who is responsible for your own ignorance, but, it's anadi. So, ultimately you need Lord's mercy. It's good to take responsibility for your ignorance, and it's good to do whatever is in your power to get rid of ignorance. But at the same time, we have to understand that to completely get rid of ignorance, we need the mercy. Not only by our endeavors we will be able to get rid of it. Yeah, no, you.
Trying to understand how that process of heart purification works when hearing. So it's a two-part question. So how important is, so I understand how it's important on the hearers or recipient side to be to do all the efforts to clean the hearts and to hear submissively. But what importance is there on the speaker's side to have certain qualities for that process of cleaning to happen? That's the first question. And the second part is, if that speaker's part also plays a role, then is there a difference when we hear, let's say, a class in person or on audio recording and video, or is it just information in that case?
Srila Prabhupada explains that the speaker should be bona fide and the hearer should be bona fide. And basically the ideal situation is that the speaker has his consciousness on the stage of this non-dual consciousness. And while speaking, he is expressing this non-dual consciousness which is there in his possession, so to speak. And while hearing this non-dual philosophy, which is produced from non-dual consciousness of the speaker, the hearer may get the same sort of experience, or at least the shadow of the same sort of experience. So that's the ideal case. If this ideal case is taking place, then the purification will become very quick. Janayati ashu vairagyam. Ashu means very quickly. By this process, the purification will take place. But even if the speaker is not really on the highest possible stage of spiritual realization, and still he is trying to speak about this non-dual reality, and the hearer is really trying hard to submissively hear the words, then still some purification will definitely take place. It's basically by the mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam itself. Therefore it is said, Nashta prayeshva badrishu nityam bhagavata sevaya. If you constantly hear Srimad Bhagavatam, means every day, then Nashta prayeshva badrishu, almost everything which is disturbing within the heart will become cleansed. Why? Because of the mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ultimately, this non-dual reality is revealing itself through the words of Srimad Bhagavatam, and our sincere attempts to repeat what is there in Srimad Bhagavatam and to hear will purify the heart. As far as the second question is concerned, what is the difference between the recording and the face-to-face hearing, then definitely recording has some utility, but ultimately when we hear face-to-face, it's easier to be submissive. The art of this submissive hearing, it's easier because when it's recording, while I am speaking, you all have to sit. Whereas if it was a recorder, you probably would do so many other things while hearing the same lecture. therefore, the process, the authoritative process, the ancient process, is to have this transmission face to face, and it's definitely much more effective than you just hear from the recording, because again, when you're hearing the recording, it's mostly the information which you get. While when you're hearing by sitting face to face, you are much more clear about the mood which is being transmitted, so to speak. And the mood is more important than the information. Even in normal communication between the people, they say that information plays only 20% role, and the 70% is the emotional exchange or the exchange of the mood. Therefore, it's more important to sit, even if you're only getting some boring mood from the speaker. Still, something is there. some sort of saving grace is there in this transmission. Yes. Okay, yeah, actually, it's time. We have to finish. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.